This is a story of a boy who treads a thin line between genius and crazy. For as long as he could remember, the boy wanted to be a hero. But over time, the boy realized his limitations. He can learn every martial arts and succeed taking out a bunch of thugs, but against guns, he would lose. Maybe if he became the strongest man in the world, he would have a small chance to survive the encounter. But if a nuke fell from the sky, the boy knew his fate would be sealed. We begin the story with Nishino as she gets ready for school. She is a beautiful girl and a famous actress, but one who has a horrifying past. Nishino was once kidnapped by a stalker and has lived to this day with the mental trauma. She maintains a facade in public in order to keep her acting career afloat. But she has a very tough time putting on a smile whenever she meets this boy. She gives him a nice greeting nevertheless.
Ohayo, Nishimura-san.
She tells him her name isn't Nishimura. She can't believe he gets it wrong every time, but he surprises her, saying that he remembers. He tells her that he's usually good at remembering the names of important NPCs with a main story arc, but that he hasn't been getting much sleep as of late. She has no idea what he's saying, but is happy that he remembers.
Nishitani-san.
Nishitani-じゃねえよ.
She hates him, not because he gets her name wrong every day, but because he ignores her existence. She puts on a mask and tries her very best to make sure that she is liked. But this boy never looks her way. Nishino has never walked home alone since the day she got kidnapped. She waits for her driver until nightfall, but he's nowhere in sight. She feels uneasy, but decides to walk home anyways. While on her way, Nishino feels the anxiety building inside her. The man asks if she is Nishino, and she immediately runs away. But unfortunately, this kidnapping was planned. She is desperate to escape, but her efforts are futile. She sees a boy in the distance before she passes out. She wakes up with her hands tied behind her back. She tries desperately to free herself, but she hears a laugh. He tells her she shouldn't have walked home alone. The man in the back says to stay put, and she'll be free to go once they get the ransom. But the white suit has other plans. He asks her for some fan service while he grabs her face. He slaps her and tells her that she should be used to this by now since it's the second time, bringing back unwanted memories. He tells her not to struggle and says that no one is coming when suddenly they hear footsteps. White suit pulls out a gun, but the masked man tosses a glass. The mask says he makes too many pointless moves while taking him down. The other man is impressed, telling him that he's been waiting for a strong opponent since he was kicked out of the army. Military welcomes the challenge, as he lands a hit with his knife. Mask counters with a crowbar, saying that crowbars are great. He whips them around, saying that the crowbar can be used like batons. Military bashes the crowbar like a beast, saying that he only needs to protect his head against a crowbar. Mask says he's right, saying that his current power level is too low. He brings up the crowbar again, saying that everything he said about the crowbar makes it great. But he says the crowbar wasn't enough when he used it to slaughter biker gangs every night. So he began to use the crowbar like a club, and discovered that the crowbar is more than great. It's the f***ing juicer. Hope you're enjoying. Please show your support with a like and subscribe. The next day, Nishino arrives at school and wears the same mask and greets the same boy. She laments the next few seconds again, but smiles nevertheless.
Ohayo, Nishino-san.
She is surprised to see that he is looking directly at her, and in his eyes, she sees herself, another who lives behind a mask, hiding behind a shadow. She wants to know him more, but unfortunately, this chapter comes to a close, as the death god himself has come to claim the life of our anime protagonist, as he did so to many before him. The boy is reborn as Sid, under an aristocrat family. The Kageno family has given birth to the best dark knights in this world, fencers that enhance their physical abilities using magic. But Sid keeps his powers a secret, hiding behind his talented sister. He is determined to be the Shadow, acting as a background character during the day, while wreaking havoc at night. Sid obtains the powerful slime bodysuit, which can take any shape or physical form. During one of his excursions, Sid encounters a rotting blob, and decides to keep it as a pet for his amusement. He tortures it for a month, performing all kinds of experiments, when finally, the curse on the being is lifted, and a beautiful elf takes shape. Sid puts on an act, making up a story about how she is a descendant of the late hero, who defeated Diablos long ago, and that he is set out on a goal to stop the evil organization that seeks to resurrect the Demon Lord. She asks him the name of the villainous organization, but Sid tells her that she'll be in danger if she knows, as he didn't think that far ahead in this completely made-up story. She doesn't care if her life is in danger, telling him that she wants revenge from the people who put her in this terrible situation. He has no goddamn clue what he should say, but he ironically sees a whiskey bottle called the Cult of Diablos. "Yeah, that's it," he says. "Their name is the Cult of Diablos." He tells her his name is Sh.ad.ow, he who lurks in the shadows, to hunt the shadows. He asks her if she's ready to follow his path. She tells him that he is her savior, and that she owes him her life. She tells him that she won't show anyone mercy. He tells her, that's the spirit. She tells him that they'll need to recruit others for the task, and that they'll need to strengthen and expand their base of operations accordingly. He's surprised at her enthusiasm, but thinks this went pretty well all things considered, and names her Alpha, the first member of their new organization, Shadow Garden. Over the years, Sid continues to take the back seat to his sister, pretending to be an average swordsman. Meanwhile, Alpha recruits a bunch of girls into Shadow Garden, as she is dead set on combating the Cult of Diablos. One day, Sid's sister is kidnapped before her 15th birthday. Beta informs Sid that the kidnappers are members of the Cult of Diablos, but Sid thinks that they're probably just some thugs who want some money, believing that there is no way that the Cult of Diablos actually exists. Shadow Garden easily infiltrate their hideout. Since he is outnumbered, the man attempts to flee after taking a steroid pill, but unfortunately runs straight into Shadow. He easily deals with the kidnapper, even after he juices up some more. Without knowing her rescuers, Claire makes it back to the family estate. Later, Alpha tells Shadow that they are all leaving him as she tells him that they will set off to fight the Cult of Diablos on a global scale. He thinks they just left him to do their own thing, still believing that the Cult of Diablos story he made up can't be real. He thinks that everyone is the same, both in this world and the last, believing that everyone gives up on their childhood fantasies at some point, and that he is the only one that proudly stands by his. He thinks back to the moments before his death from his first world, when he came to the realization that the only way to become a hero is with magic. He smiles, thinking that his persistence allowed him to achieve his goal. Sid arrives at Midgar Kingdom, where he will attend Midgar Academy. He is following in his sister's footsteps, by doing just enough to enroll in the most prestigious institution for Dark Knights. Sid is diligent in his background character role, housing in the dorm for average students, and making average-looking friends. He even goes as far as losing a bet, getting the worst score in a school test and forcing him to confess to the hottest girl at school to face the humiliation of rejection. He is secretly happy with the task as it would further push him towards the background character figure that everyone will perceive him to be. He has practiced all night, thinking that his performance will be Oscar-worthy. Perfection. A truly magnificent performance indeed. Next, he plans on falling on his face, crying.
わかりました。あなたのような方を待っていたの。よろしくね。
はい。なんでなんで
Ah, you hear that?
Might wanna lay off the weed, huh?
And you might want to gargle my ball sack.
Sid is distressed. He's worked so hard to stay away from the light, but has walked straight into the path of becoming a protagonist of a romance anime. While everyone stares, he begins to pig out, hoping that she'll break up with him soon, but she calls him
あなた、
and asks him to take the same fencing class with her. At the class, Sid spars with Alexia, noticing that her fundamentals are great, but her style is bland, a stark difference to her sister, who is currently the most powerful Dark Knight in the entire kingdom. After, Sid overhears Alexia and Xenon chat, as she tells him that she'll be dating Sid, and that she won't be getting engaged with Xenon. Sid asks Alexia if she is using him to get out of an engagement with Xenon, to which she replies that she is. He tells her that he doesn't want any more of this attention, but she tells him that's too bad, since he lost that bet to his friends. She said his friends squealed so quickly when she interrogated them, and that she'll get the three of them in trouble if he doesn't play along. He tells her this probably won't end well, but she just says that he's annoying while she flicks a coin. He asks her if he looks like the type that can be bought with money.
見えるわ。
その通りだ。しわりない。
よしよし。
For 2 weeks, the pair act like a couple, publicly announcing that they are in love, any chance they get. But one day, Xenon and his knights surround Sid, arresting him with the accusation that he kidnapped Alexia. Alexia awakens in a cell, next to a horrific creature. She is soon joined by a crazed doctor who chants, "Royal blood." Alexia asks what he'll do to her, while he draws her blood. He says that she has demon blood, and that he's going to resurrect the demon lord. Meanwhile, Sid is imprisoned and interrogated. He takes a beating, but only thinks of how great this situation is for his background character role. He plays the part, crying and begging them to let him go. Eventually, the green coats let him go, acknowledging that a background character like him isn't capable of the accusations. When he gets home, Sid meets Alpha for the first time in 2 years. She tells him that the cult is behind the kidnapping, and that the knights that interrogated him are members of the cult. She tells him to lay low for now as she heads out to find the whereabouts of the princess. While waiting, Sid uses the money he got from Alexia to buy himself some nice furniture for his base of operations as Sh.ad.ow. Beta arrives, noticing the new makeover, while Sid takes a sip of his wine. She tells him that the preparations are complete. He tells her that tonight will be their first act, and that the world will come to know the name, Shadow Garden. Meanwhile, Alexia is lifeless as the doctor continues to draw her blood. He shouts that he has finally made a prototype as he injects the blood in the creature. It grows into a bigger monster, and immediately takes out the doctor, but surprisingly spares Alexia's life as it unchains her. Alexia escapes, before it begins to go on a rampage. On her way out, she sees Xenon, who tells her that she can't run. He tells her that this is his facility, and that he was the one who funded the doctor's research. She attacks him, but he mocks her, saying that she'll never be as strong as her sister. Alexia is dominated, but she looks up to see a hooded figure approach.
我が名はシャドウ、影を狩る者。
Xenon attacks, unleashing his magic. But Shadow isn't fazed. Shadow mocks him, as he stands above him. Enraged, Xenon fires away with all his might. But he stands no chance as Shadow lands a blow. Xenon takes the steroid pills and unleashes another attack. But once again, Shadow just pummels him, saying that he can never be strong using borrowed power. Xenon asks who he is as Shadow unleashes his insane, magical power. Shadow tells him of a story, of a boy who wished to withstand a nuclear bomb. The boy developed his muscles, honed his mind, perfected his skills, and yet, he couldn't become the almighty being he wished he could be. But he never gave up on his dreams. After years of training, he came to a conclusion. If he can't defeat a nuclear bomb, he simply has to become nuclear himself.
Atomic.
The next day, Alexia catches Sid up on the events from the night before. She thanks him for pretending to be his boyfriend during those weeks, and asks him if he wants to be in a real relationship.
お断りだ。
Thanks for making it to the end. Please make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this.